Okay, then here we go. Today's date is August 15th, 2022. The time on the monitor is 12:32 p.m. This is the start of the deposition of Paul LaBand, MD, in the matter of Robert Wilkinson versus Natalie Hudson, being heard in the Superior Court of the State of California in and for the County of Napa. Case number CV 19-001710. This deposition is being recorded using video conferencing software. My name is Diana Phil Sharma on behalf of ALVS. I am not financially interested in this action, nor am I a relative or employee of any of the attorney or any of the parties. I have been retained by plaintiffs for the law firm law office of John J. Roach. Can all attorneys present please introduce yourselves, your affiliations, and the court reporter will administer the oath.
Good afternoon, John Roach for the plaintiff, Robert Wilkinson.
Good afternoon, Lydia Goldman for defendant.
Dr. LaBand, if you could raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear a testimony you're about to give this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. LaBand.
Good afternoon.
What is your profession?
I'm a physician. I'm board certified in internal medicine.
Thank you. How long have you been practicing medicine in Napa?
In Napa since 2015.
2015. Where do you currently work?
I currently work for Calabria Care, which is a hospice and palliative care provider.
Where is your current office located?
414 South Jefferson Street in Napa.
In the time period between 2015 and 2020, where did you work?
In that time period, I was working for the Queen of the Valley Medical Associates Medical Group in their primary care office.
Thank you. Were you Mr. Robert Wilkinson's primary care physician starting in at least March of 2017?
Yes.
And were you his primary care physician up until June of 2020?
Yes.
Have we spoke before?
Yes, we have.
Is it okay if I ask you questions about your care of Mr. Wilkinson before and after his motor vehicle collision of December 15, 2017?
Yes.
Thank you. Am I paying you for your time to testify today?
Yes, a professional fee.
And what is your hourly rate?
Sorry, I'm blanking. I think 350 per hour was what we agreed on.
Thank you. And if you weren't giving a deposition this afternoon, what would you be doing?
I would be doing the regular duties of my full-time job.
Are you a professional witness that comes into courtrooms and gets paid to testify?
No.
Your role in this case is as a treating physician of Mr. Wilkinson, correct?
That is correct.
Now let's talk about your treatment of Mr. Wilkinson before his collision. As of March of 2017, was there any indication that Mr. Wilkinson had an injury to his neck?
As of March 2017, you said?
Correct.
Okay. I just need a minute because I have the medical records up, and just to be precise, I like to actually look at what was written down.
I appreciate that. Take your time.
So I have to go back to so the notes prior to March of 2017.
Yeah, around that time.
Yeah. in all the notes that I have from March of 2017 or earlier, there's no mention of any neck injury. Was that the question?
It was, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Is it fair to say that Mr. Wilkinson's primary health concerns that you were treating him for were high blood pressure and diabetes?
Yes, those were the primary concerns addressed in those notes.
And if Mr. Wilkinson had neck pain before December 15, 2017, would it be your standard practice to put that information under the active problems list in your medical records?
Yes, it would be, especially if it was a problem that I directly assessed.
I'm going
And
to
you-
check on the form of the question.
And you've reviewed Mr. Wilkinson's available medical records that you have?
Yes, I reviewed the available medical records.
And you don't see any indication of neck pain in the active problem list at any time before December 15, 2017. Do I have that right?
That is correct.
Can we talk about the 3 visits Mr. Wilkinson had with your office before his collision of December 15, 2017?
Yes.
I have a date of service of March 17, 2017. What was the reason for that visit?
The March 17 visit, the chief complaint was follow-up for diabetes. And what we discussed, what I wrote down that we discussed was type 2 diabetes and also hypertension.
Again, any reference to neck pain?
No,
Any reference to headaches?
no.
The next visit I have is June 29, 2017. What was the reason for that visit?
June 29, 2017, the chief complaint, I wrote down hypertension, follow-up for hypertension and diabetes. And the issues discussed were the diabetes. He also had some diarrhea that we discussed, and his hypertension was discussed as well.
Any mention of neck pain?
No,
Any mention of headaches?
no.
Okay. The next visit that I have is September 29, 2017. What was the reason for this visit?
September 9/29, 2017, chief complaint was listed as left shoulder / limb pain, and then routine 3-month follow-up for diabetes. And what we discussed again was the diabetes and the hypertension, and then also a brief assessment of some left shoulder pain, and he mentioned intermittent low back pain.
Any reference to neck pain at that visit?
No,
Any reference to headaches at that visit?
no,
Mr. Wilkinson complained of shoulder pain at this visit. Did that shoulder pain have anything to do with his neck?
Objection calls for speculation.
From reading my notes, my assessment was that it was more likely the shoulder pain was some sort of local pathology in the muscles or ligaments of the shoulder.
And that was based on your physical assessment of him?
Yeah, based on history, description of symptoms, and a brief physical examination.
Can you rule out for this jury that the shoulder pain Mr. Wilkinson complained of on September 29, 2017 was radiculitis coming from his neck?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, the precise answer to that would be no, I cannot rule it out because that would require other testing or imaging studies that were not done at that time. But my assessment was based on clinical examination. I felt it was unlikely.
So to a reasonable degree of medical probability, the shoulder pain was completely unrelated to the neck, correct?
Objection.
Correct.
This is testimony and calls for speculation.
The That is correct, though. I can agree with that statement.
Okay. So if another doctor interpreted your records to say that the shoulder pain was radiculitis from his neck, you would disagree with that interpretation of your records based on everything that you've seen with Mr. Wilkinson, correct?
That is correct.
And is that because you felt the shoulder pain was more localized?
Yes, I felt it was more localized, and the physical exam findings were really the part that spoke to me and supported that.
And again, there was no history of any neck pain to relate that shoulder pain to, correct?
That is correct.
Was there any indication in your records or your recollection that Mr. Wilkinson was regularly taking pain medication before his collision of December 15, 2017?
No, I would not say regularly taking pain medicine. He did take some intermittently, but not on a regular basis.
Would that be on an as needed basis?
Correct.
Mr. Wilkinson testified under oath that he called your office the day of his collision of December 15, 2017, complaining of neck pain. Do you have any reason to disbelieve that?
No, I do not.
And you've reviewed Mr. Wilkinson's medical records from your office, correct?
That is correct.
Your first visit with Mr. Wilkinson after the collision is January 5th, 2018. Did he give you a history of being in a collision at that time?
On the January 5th, 2018 note, I wrote that he reported to me he had an MVA, which is motor vehicle accident, on December 15th.
Did he describe how his body moved in the collision?
Yes, he did.
And how did his body move in the collision?
What I documented was that he was wearing a seatbelt and he suffered a whiplash type injury to the neck, also injuries to the low back and left shoulder. And he did not hit his head. I documented it was a driver's side impact, which again resulted in the whiplash injury to the neck and then strain injuries to the left shoulder and low back. That was the description he gave to me.
Thank you. And is whiplash a rapid movement of the head?
Yes, whiplash is a rapid movement of the head. Usually it's when the head gets thrown back, but it can be in any direction.
And what were Mr. Wilkinson's symptoms on that day of January 5th, 2018, focusing on the neck and headaches?
So what I wrote on that note is, since the accident, he has had persistent daily headaches in the frontal region, which is the front of the head, some intermittent nausea, and he described what I called myofascial pain in the neck, and it radiated to the trapezius area and the lower occipital area. So trapezius is here and lower occipital area is the back of the head.
Did he give a history of having daily pain ever since the collision?
Sorry, I'm reading through the note. Well, what I wrote down that was persistent daily was the headaches, but also I described the myofascial pain in the neck as constant. So that means constant pain on a daily basis, but also worse with certain movements.
Okay. Based on your review of the record and your treatment of Mr. Wilkinson, was the motor vehicle collision of December 15, 2017, a substantial factor in causing his neck pain?
Yes, I believe it was.
Does Mr. Wilkinson have special training in therapy and the use of ultrasound modalities to relieve pain?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, I documented in my note that he told me he was a trained therapist and used to provide physical therapy for sports athletes. And he described having a home ultrasound machine, which he wanted to use to treat his neck pain.
And did he request permission from you to use his ultrasound machine to treat his neck pain at home?
Yes, he did.
And did you grant him permission?
Yes.
Did you diagnose Mr. Wilkinson with a neck injury on January 5th, 2018?
Sorry, I'm just scrolling down through the note. Yes, I did.
And was this a new neck injury?
Yes, it was.
What was the plan to deal with this new injury?
The plan that I wrote down in that note was that he would do his own ultrasound therapy treatments for his neck and shoulder, but also he would monitor his pain and call me back if things were not improving.
Mr. Wilkinson, I've counted 8 visits with you following the collision. Did he complain of neck pain at each and every one of those visits?
The visits after this one that we're reviewing currently?
Correct.
Sorry, I'm scrolling through to see if he did. On the following visit in May 2018, yes, he complained of ongoing neck pain. And the visit after that was June of 2018. And there was a more extensive discussion there about ongoing neck pain and stiffness and headaches. The visit after that was August of 2018. Again, his primary issue was concerns related to ongoing neck and low back pain since the MVA several months ago. And the visit after that was September 2018. Again, I noted he described having, actually on that visit, he was describing worsening low back pain.
But did he still have neck pain that day?
I'm just looking. Yes, under review of systems, I wrote that he did have back pain and neck pain. And then the following visit after that was January 2019. He described continued cervicalgia, which is neck pain from an auto accident many months ago. So he mentioned it on that visit. And then the following visit was May of 2019. He again mentioned ongoing neck pain. And the following visit, September 2019, we again discussed neck pain on that visit and some treatments he had had. And then the following visit, January 2020, he again brought up neck pain and we discussed it. And then the following visit, May of 2020, I wrote down, he described the neck pain was unchanged, meaning he was still having it, and we discussed it. And then the following visit was June of 2020. And he again discussed his chronic, what he described as chronic neck pain at that point, meaning it
And-
was ongoing.
And that would be your final visit with Mr. Wilkinson?
That's the final visit that we have records for. So the answer to your question, I think was it mentioned on every visit? And it looks like the answer is yes.
Thank you. Going back to May 7, 2018, did the ultrasound and home therapy cure Mr. Wilkinson's neck pain?
Well, just from what we've reviewed, he complained of ongoing pain. So the answer would be no, it did not cure the pain.
And was the collision of December 15 still a substantial factor in causing his neck pain on that date?
Yes.
Objection calls for speculation. This person has not been designated as a retained expert.
His next visit was on June 27, 2018. Did he report to you that he had continuing neck pain on that day?
Sorry, you said June 27, 2018?
Correct.
August. Here it is, June 27. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, did Mr. Wilkinson report continued neck pain and stiffness most days?
What I wrote in my note from that visit is he is continuing to have neck pain and stiffness most days. And also he has headaches occasionally.
Did you discuss getting an MRI of Mr. Wilkinson's neck on June 27, 2018?
Yes, we discussed the possibility of an MRI.
Did you discuss with him a referral to a excuse me, spine specialist?
Yes.
Was it your determination that by this time those referrals were reasonable?
Yes, I would not have recommended them if I didn't think they were reasonable.
Is it fair to say that you were seeing Mr. Wilkinson every 3 to 4 months following the collision, roughly?
That is correct.
Would you be in a good position to comment on whether he ever had a substantial increase in neck pain during the period he was treating with you?
I think I would be, yes.
Based on your review of the medical records, is there any evidence of a substantial increase in his neck pain in the fall of 2018?
From my review of the records, it appeared to me that in the fall of 2018, the neck pain was persistent but stable. So I would not say there's a substantial increase.
The next visit I see is August 24, 2018. Is he still having neck pain at that visit?
What I wrote down was he reported ongoing neck pain and low back pain, which had been ongoing since the MBA several months ago.
So the neck pain is still caused by the collision?
Objection calls for speculation. And this witness is not designated expert.
Well, what I documented was that the pain had been persistent since the MBA.
Did he request more pain medication at this time?
Yes, I wrote down that he requested a renewal of hydrocodone.
Is hydrocodone a form of opiate pain medication?
That is correct.
And at this visit, you made the diagnosis as cervicalgia, which you told us basically just means neck pain.
That is correct.
Did you make any referrals at this visit on August 24, 2018?
Yes, there is a referral for physical therapy.
The next visit I have is September 10, 2018. Is it fair to say that he had continued neck pain at about the same level?
September 2018. What I wrote down, sorry, I didn't describe it in the HPI, but in the review of systems, I did document back pain and neck pain. So yes, it would be fair to say he was still having neck pain.
Is he still having headaches as of September 10, 2018?
Under neurologic review systems, I wrote no headache.
Are headaches still on the active problem list as of September 10, 2018?
Active problem says. Yes, headache was still on the active problem list.
And again, you saw no dramatic increase or, well, strike that. Is there any evidence of increased neck pain at this visit?
No.
And I'm sorry to belabor the point, but the defense is going to claim an exacerbation of his neck pain around this period. If a doctor came in and said that he interpreted your records as showing an exacerbation in neck pain, would you disagree with that?
I would disagree with an exacerbation of neck pain, yes, on this visit.
Did you order an MRI of Mr. Wilkinson's neck?
On this particular visit or at any time?
At any time.
Yes, I did.
The next visit I have is January 10, 2019. Had he begun physical therapy for his neck pain by that point?
January 10. Yes, I documented that he had been working with physical therapy.
Did he describe his progress with physical therapy?
What I documented is that he told me he feels it's improving, but very slowly.
So by this point, is there any evidence of worsening neck injury?
No.
In fact, the only evidence is that there is a slow improvement at physical therapy, right?
That is correct.
So around this time, does Mr. Wilkinson receive a neck MRI?
Yes, I believe so. I don't remember the actual date of the MRI, but it's in here.
Should I give you a second to find the MRI? Because I just have one question about it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is. The MRI was performed on April 25th, 2019.
Did the MRI confirm your diagnosis of cervicalgia?
I would say cervicalgia is more of a symptom that's described by patient. It means cervical neck pain. The MRI is more of an imaging study, so it can't diagnose pain.
Okay. Were there findings on the MRI that could produce pain in Mr. Wilkinson's neck?
Yes, there were.
And again, was a collision of December 15 a substantial factor in causing Mr. Wilkins' cervicalgia on January 10th, 2019?
Same objection, calls for speculation, and this witness is not a designated expert.
But yes, I believe it was.
The next visit I have is May 13, 2019. My question to you, Dr. LaBand, is how is Mr. Wilkinson's neck pain affecting him at this time?
May 13, you said, correct? 2019. Here it is. What I wrote down on that visit, he described two main concerns: ongoing neck pain. He was living with daily pain, and he described some limited mobility. And those were the major effects of the pain.
Do you refer Mr. Wilkinson to Marco Boder, MD, around this time for continued treatment of his neck pain?
Let's see. On that visit, I referred him to physical therapy. That's what I documented.
Okay. Do you have a recollection or any indication that you eventually referred him to Marco Boder for further treatment for his neck pain?
Well, yes, I believe in subsequent notes, I documented that he had gone to see a physiatry specialist, and that is Dr. Boder.
Do you have an understanding of this type of treatment Marco Boder offers to patients with chronic neck pain?
Yes, I do.
What sort of treatments does Dr. Boder offer?
I would say the primary treatment that he does most often are some form of what are called epidural steroid injections, or spine facet joint injections, where a steroid and usually another drug that is a form of long-acting lidocaine that dulls nerves are injected into the area where the pain is to try to provide longer lasting relief.
And is that above and beyond the sort of treatment you offer patients of yours that suffer from neck pain?
Yes, that's a very specialized treatment.
Okay, so we're in the period of May, June of 2019. Is there any evidence that you're aware of that Mr. Wilkinson sustained any new injuries from a fall?
No.
Is there any evidence during this time period of a new injury from any sort of subsequent accident?
No, not from an accident.
It appears your next visit, the eighth visit, if I'm counting correctly, is on September 9th of 2019. Is it fair to say that by this point, a Dr. Boder is a doctor primarily treating Mr. Wilkinson's neck pain?
Well, I did document that he underwent some epidural steroid injections, which would be Dr. Boder's treatment. But he was also working with physical therapy, and I was prescribing him some pain medication, which was also for the neck pain.
Oh, thank you. And that was also an important component of him controlling his pain, right? He was using opiate pain medication, doing injection therapy with Dr. Boder, and physical therapy, right?
That is correct. That's why when your question was Dr. Boder the primary treating physician, I would say it's more accurate that there were several treatments from different providers.
Thank you for that clarification. Is it fair to say that by this point, June of 2019, Mr. Wilkinson continues to treat consistently for neck pain?
That is correct.
And he described to you that he had began receiving injections into his neck at this time, around this time, correct?
Yes, that was documented on the September 9th visit of 2019.
And you see Mr. Wilkinson on January 9th, 2020. How is he treating his neck pain at this time?
On the January 9th visit of 2020, I documented the neck pain is being treated with a combination of intermittent opiate therapy, which is the hydrocodone, as well as physiatry treatments, which is Dr. Boder, being back injections specifically. And then I also documented that a procedure called a rhizotomy was being considered, but had not yet been done.
Now, as of January 9th, 2020, is the collision still a substantial factor in causing his ongoing neck pain?
Objection calls for speculation. And again, this witness is not a designated retained expert.
Just for the record, there's case law allowing treating doctors to comment on causation.
Can argue that with the judge.
Okay, I can still answer the question though.
You can answer.
Yeah. Based on my review of the records, I believed that the injury from the auto accident was a substantial factor in his neck pain. Yes.
And on May 11th, 2020, does he still have ongoing daily neck pain?
May 11th, 2020, I documented that he reported neck pain unchanged, which means ongoing, and he was waiting for another round of steroid injections.
Is he continuing to treat his neck pain with low dose opiate therapy and injections?
Yes.
Is the collision still a substantial factor in causing his neck pain as of May 11, 2020?
Same objection.
I believe it was, yes.
And your final visit with Mr. Wilkinson is on June 3rd, 2020. Is he still suffering from neck pain at this time?
On the June 3rd visit, I documented that he expressed frustrations related to his chronic neck pain, which means he was still having the neck pain.
Now, assume that Mr. Wilkinson never has a car collision. Would you see any reason to refer Mr. Wilkinson for an MRI of his neck?
Objection calls for speculation. Incomplete hypothetical.
So if he had never had the auto accident, I mean, I can't say there would never be a reason, but there would have to be some other symptom that developed in order to get an MRI. We don't do MRIs just for no reason.
Now, assume Mr. Wilkinson never had the car collision in December of 2017. Would you see any reason to refer Mr. Wilkinson to physical therapy for neck pain?
Objection calls for speculation and incomplete hypothetical.
And this is just based on your treatment of him up until that point.
Well, certainly up until the auto accident, there was no documentation of any reason to refer him for physical therapy for neck pain. He was not having neck pain. If he had never had the auto accident and did not complain of neck pain, then there would be no reason to refer him to physical therapy.
Assume that the collision of December 2017 never happens. Is there any reason to refer Mr. Wilkinson to Marco Bador, MD, for injections into his neck?
Same objection calls for speculation, incomplete hypothetical.
Again, assuming there was no car accident and no symptoms of neck pain, then there would be no reason to refer him.
Thank you, Dr. LaBand. I have nothing further at this time.
Okay. Does anybody want to break before I begin my questioning and cross-exam?
No, thank you.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
I'm okay.
thank you. Good afternoon, Dr. LaBand. My name is Lydia Goldman. As you know, I'm the attorney for Ms. Hudson, who goes by Ms. Williams. I deposed you on around August 3rd, 2022. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
And has anyone provided you with a copy of the transcript of that deposition for your review?
No.
Okay. And were you given any items to look over between your deposition and today?
No, not between that deposition and today.
Okay. At the time I took your deposition, you had spoken to the plaintiff attorneys before I deposed you on August 3rd, 2022, correct?
Objection, vague and ambiguous as to attorneys, plural.
Well, I can be more specific and point out which one of you.
Thank you.
Is the question, did I speak to Mr. Roach? Yes, I did.
Okay. And at that time, you had discussed your care of Mr. Wilkinson, correct?
I don't think I would characterize it as I discussed my care specifically.
Okay. I have down that you spoke to him about scheduling and the medical records review and your hourly rate. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And since then, Deb, did you speak with Mr. Roach and or Mr. Schwartz from that date until the time of your deposition today?
Yes, once.
When was that?
Today I called Mr. Roach because I had written down that this deposition was at noon, and when I signed on to Zoom, nobody was there, and I called him to double check the actual time that it was scheduled.
Other than just to clarify today's time, did you speak about any other topics?
When I called him today, he asked me one other question about something that he might have to ask me during the deposition.
And what was that?
Oh boy. It just left my mind. It was, I think it was a question about whether, boy, I have forgotten already. I don't want to mischaracterize the question, and I don't remember. I just remember there was some question that he thought he might need to ask me about whether or not I would agree with something. And now for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. I'm sorry.
Okay. When you see patients in your office back then, when you were working at Queen of the Valley, did you dictate your notes directly into dictation software?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then was that contemporaneous or at the same time you were seeing the patient, or just shortly after they would walk out of the room, you would dictate your notes?
It would usually be after the patient left, but on the same day.
Okay. And then those, the software has them come up right away. No one has to type those up for you.
That is correct.
Okay. And they come in typos and all, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think it's already been established you were seeing Mr. Wilkinson every 4 months or so, primarily to monitor his diabetes and high blood pressure, correct?
That is
Objection,
correct.
vague as to time.
Okay, well, you were his primary care starting when, if you know?
I don't know the exact date when I started. All we know is when the oldest note, the first note was, which was 2017.
So from 2017 until you left that practice in approximately the end of 2020, your last visit being June of 2020, you were primarily seeing this patient every 4 months or so to monitor his diabetes and high blood pressure, correct?
I was seeing him for those issues, but also because I was prescribing an opiate pain medication, and the visits were also specifically to monitor that.
You were prescribing opiate pain medication to him before the automobile accident with my client, correct?
I think before the accident, if I did prescribe an opiate, it was only very rarely and for intermittent use. But after the pain became more constant and he was taking the opiate on a more regular basis, he needed a prescription every month.
And when did you start prescribing that every month?
I would have to look back to find. So just give me a quick minute to scroll through. Um, what I can tell you is based on what's on the active medication list, the hydrocodone was on every visit. Going back as far as that's, oh, there it is. Dakota. So I think, well, what visit is this? I think August of 2018, there is a renewal for the hydrocodone on that visit. Nope, but it was there on the previous visit too. I think it may be difficult to give a precise answer to your question, because really all I can do is review the med list at each visit. And if it's on there as an active medication, that means I was prescribing it.
But you can't tell how many times you were renewing it.
Yeah, I mean, the way the prescription was written changed on this visit. This was September of 2017. It had been written as take 1 to 2 tablets every 4 to 6 hours as needed for pain. And then when I renewed it, I changed it to read take 1 tablet once daily as needed for pain. So that would suggest to me, again, I can't be 100% precise, but that would suggest to me that that was the visit when he would have gone from just using it every once in a while to taking it a little bit more regularly.
Okay. We talked a bit about September 29, 2017 visit, right before the visit after the automobile accident, when he reported left shoulder pain and low back pain. And you didn't order any x-rays as a result of that visit, correct?
That is correct.
And subsequent to that visit, you never ordered any x-rays of the left shoulder, correct?
That is correct.
And you never ordered an MRI of the left shoulder subsequent to that visit, correct?
Objection, relevance.
Did you answer?
That is correct.
Counsel represented that there was a call to your office at some point in time between 9/29/17 and January 15/18, 2018 from the patient to speak with you. Would you have made a note of that if the patient called to speak with you and complaining that they had an injury?
Objection calls for speculation
Um,
that he ever received notice of the call, but go ahead.
well, right. I mean, the question was, would I have made note of it? I would not have taken the call. So I would not have made a note related to the call.
Okay. So if you had spoken to him, you would have had a note of that, correct?
If I had spoken to him on the phone, yes, I document all my phone
Okay.
calls.
And at the time when that took place, sometime between 9/29/17 and 1/5/18, do you know if it was the custom and practice of the support staff in your office to make notations when patients called in to report that they were injured and needed to speak with a doctor?
Typically, if a patient calls with a specific complaint, especially if it's an injury or pain, and wanting to get an appointment, usually there would be a phone note generated. So that would be the usual practice, but as a caveat, if a patient just calls to request an appointment, they may just book the appointment and not create a note.
Are you aware of any notes in your file indicating that Mr. Wilkinson phoned your office between 9/29/17 and 1/5/18 to either request to book an appointment or report that he had been injured in an accident?
Objection, vague and ambiguous as to his file. He is now at a different medical practice without access to that file. What he does have is limited medical records. So it calls for speculation and it's vague and ambiguous.
Okay, and what I would say to that is in the records that I have available to me, there's no documentation of any phone call.
And the records that you're referring to, those were provided to you by plaintiff's attorney, correct?
That is correct.
So the only thing he's provided you with are a limited selection of your records for a certain period of time, correct?
is
Objection
correct.
calls for speculation.
Can
Sorry, what was
you,
the answer? I didn't hear the answer.
I said, yes, I believe that's correct.
when I took your deposition, you identified that those were just partial records, that there were other records that would have been maintained in your office. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and you don't have those other records, just the notes from your visits, correct?
Well, I have the notes from my visit. I have the MRI report, and there's also many blood test reports.
Okay, but outside of that, there's no other documentation that would have been maintained in your office when you were working at Queen, correct?
Objection, vague and ambiguous. I don't understand the question.
So you don't have records that other providers may have given you. You don't have things such as notes that your staff may have put into the file. Those types of things were not provided to you as part of your records, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
And on the visit of January 5th, 2018, what are all the symptoms the patient was reporting to you after that incident on that visit?
On the January 5th, 2018 note, I documented that he described having an MVA, motor vehicle accident, on December 15th. He reported having a whiplash type injury to his neck, and also injuries to the low back and left shoulder. He reported to me persistent daily headaches in the frontal region, some intermittent nausea, and constant muscle and ligament pain in the neck that radiated to the trapezius and the lower occipital area.
Okay. Did you examine him?
Yes. Yes.
And what were your findings on exam?
You want me to read all of what I documented or just specific?
No. Just specific to the neck, shoulder, back.
There was actually no focused neck or shoulder examination. There was a neurologic examination that showed language was normal, memory was normal, and his orientation was appropriate.
There was some language used earlier about you giving your permission to the patient to use an ultrasound machine. The patient could use that ultrasound machine that he already owned without your permission, couldn't he?
Objection calls for speculation.
I believe he could. There certainly is there's no medical issue that I'm aware of that would require permission from me.
Okay. And you didn't know how often, if at all, he was using it before then, did you?
I do not know if he was using it at all before then. That's the first time he mentioned it to me.
Sorry, I'm having to jump notes. Okay, I think I have the next visit, May 7th, 2018. Is that correct?
May 7, 2018, yes.
Okay. And there were no visits, at least with you, between January 5th and May 7th of 2018, correct?
None that I'm aware of, correct.
Okay. And as to his injuries, do your notes state, quote, continues to deal with some neck stiffness related to his MVA several months ago, close quote.
That is correct.
And he was going to continue using conservative management, correct?
Yes, I wrote continue with conservative management.
And no x-rays were ordered on that date, correct?
That is correct.
No change in medications on that date?
Also correct.
Okay. And neck pain was reported, but no headache, is that correct?
Oops, sorry. Yes, neck pain, but no headache. Can I qualify my previous answer though about changing medications?
Okay.
I don't know if this is relevant to your question, but just to be precise, there was a change in one of his diabetes medications.
But nothing with respect to pain medication, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Back to my last question, reported neck pain, but no headaches reported. Is that accurate?
Yes.
The next visit that I have is June 27, 2018. Is that correct?
June 27, 2018, yes.
Yes. And on that visit, you were the patient asked you to prepare a letter for him. Is that accurate?
Yes, I wrote down that he wanted me to write a letter to detail the kind of care that had been provided so far and what kind of care may be necessary if symptoms do not improve.
Did he discuss with you what he wanted the letter to say particularly?
I don't have a specific memory of what he said specifically, but from what I wrote, it seems to me that he really just wanted the letter to provide details on what kind of care had been provided so far, and also an opinion on what kind of care may be necessary if the symptoms do not improve.
And I understand that you don't have a copy of the letter that you prepared at his request in the records that you were provided with. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And he was still reporting neck pain and stiffness with occasional headaches at that time, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And at that visit, nothing new was recommended by you as far as changes in his pain medication, and no films or studies were recommended on that date?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Then next visit, August 24th, 2018.
Yes, I have.
And what is the patient reporting on that visit?
On that visit, I documented he reported concerns related to ongoing neck and low back pain. He had been dealing with chronic neck and low back pain since the motor vehicle accident several months ago. He requested a referral for formal physical therapy. I wrote that he stated he was having daily cervicalgia, which is neck pain, as well as low back pain with stiffness, that he reported taking some old Flexeril. Flexeril is a medication, a muscle relaxer, which did not provide much relief. And he had taken periodic low-dose hydrocodone and was requesting a renewal of that.
Did he mention anything to you about having to move residences?
Objection,
Yeah.
relevance.
I did document that he reported the house that he had been renting had been sold, and he had to vacate by September 24th.
And did he have concerns relative to that in respect to his health and his physical well-being?
Objection, relevance.
He did report that he had been living there for 27 years, so he had a lot of stuff, and he reported a limited ability to pack and move things, and that's what I wrote down.
Okay. And did you do an exam of him on that with respect to his neck or back?
No, I did not document a specific neck or back examination.
Okay. And the next visit was September 10th of 2018. Is that correct?
September 10, 2018, yes.
And what did the patient report to you at that time?
And I object to relevance as it relates to his moving activities. Go ahead.
Do you want me to answer that question just specifically related to pain complaints?
I want to have you report as to what the patient told you in your note from that day as to how he was doing.
Well, there were several things he told me, so.
Let's focus on his neck and back then.
Okay. Yeah, he reported worsening back pain. This was after he had moved out of his house, and he had been doing a lot of bending, lifting, and packing.
And did you do a physical exam?
I did do a physical exam, but I did not document any focused back or joint examination.
Okay, so there's no mention of neck, back, or shoulder pain in that exam?
Not in my physical exam, no.
Okay. And it was noted he was going to start physical therapy?
Yes, I wrote he will be starting physical therapy this week.
Okay, next exam date, January 10th, 2019? Is that correct?
Yes, January 10, 2019.
Okay. Did you discuss again, did you discuss at that time the possibility of an MRI or referring him to physiatry?
I specifically wrote, we discussed other options, which would include an MRI scan with a referral to physiatry.
And did the patient respond to that at all?
What I wrote is he does not want to pursue it at this time.
Okay. And is there any notation of whether he was still complaining of headaches at that visit?
Under review of systems, I wrote no headache.
Okay, and did you examine his neck, shoulder, or back on that visit?
No, I did not.
And you noted that his mood was normal and his affect were normal?
That is correct.
Next visit, May 13, 2019, mentions an MRI. And I believe when I took your deposition, you felt that you were likely the physician that ordered that, correct?
May 13, 2019. Yes, in fact, we confirmed that I was the ordering physician.
Okay. And do you know if the patient had had any formal physical therapy by May 13 of 2019?
What I wrote in my note was that he really never had a true formal physical therapy evaluation.
As you sit here today, do you have any recollection as to what he was referring to when he mentioned physical therapy in previous visits?
From recollection and from the previous notes, I think he would have mentioned the therapy he was giving himself with his ultrasound machine.
Okay. And at that, based on the MRI findings, you referred him to physical therapy and renewed his hydrocodone?
Yes, that visit, there is a referral for physical therapy and a renewal for the hydrocodone.
Okay. Next visit, September 9th, 2019. The patient reported to you that the epidural he had gave good relief, but only for a few hours. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Okay. And did your physical exam on that date include an examination of his neck, back, or shoulder?
No, it did not.
Was there any notation of whether or not he was experiencing a headache on that day?
Under review of systems, I documented no headache.
Okay. Next visit, January 9th, 2020. There is a notation in those records that say there were 2+ falls from the past year, no falls with injury in the past year. Is that an accurate representation of what your records state?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And when I took your deposition on August 3rd, you were asked, did you ask him about the falls? And you didn't recall specifically, is that correct?
That is correct.
And did you document anything about his physical exam pertaining to his neck, back, or shoulder on that exam?
No, I did not.
And was there any mention of whether or not he had a headache on that visit?
No headache.
Okay. Next visit, May 11th of 2020. Was there an exam of his neck, back, or shoulder on that visit?
May 11th, 2020. No, there's not.
Okay. Any mention of whether or not he had a headache?
There it is. No headache.
Okay. And I think the next visit, June 3rd, 2020, that appears to have been a phone visit.
June 3rd, 2020. Yes, that was a telephone visit.
Okay. And you renewed your referral to the physiatrist at that time?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Up until then, had you specifically referred the patient to an orthopedic surgeon?
Objection relevance.
No, I did not see any documentation of a referral to an orthopedic surgeon.
Did he ever ask you up until then, as far as you can tell from your notes, for a referral to an orthopedic surgeon?
Objection calls for speculation.
Well, I've seen nothing in the notes that documented any request from him for an orthopedic referral.
I don't think I have any additional questions. Thank you.
Just a couple questions, Dr. LaBand. Your records on May 2018 and August of 2018 reference a motor vehicle accident several months ago. My question is, are those records auto-populated such that they all refer to the December 15, 2017 collision?
Yeah, well, there are parts of the note that are auto-populated. But whatever is in the HPI is whatever I typed in specifically for that day.
Okay. And throughout your treatment of Mr. Wilkinson, you're only aware of one collision causing pain, and that'd be the December 15, 2017 collision, correct?
That is correct.
And in your treatment of Mr. Wilkinson, there's a reference to 2 falls within the last year that were non-injury falls. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Objection mischaracterizes what's in the records and the testimony.
Well, were the falls non-injury falls
Objection calls for speculation.
per the records?
Well, the screening question is, were there falls and were there an injury resulting from the fall? And the answer was 2 falls and no resulting injury.
And why do you ask those screening questions?
Just to clarify, I don't actually ask those screening questions. Those are asked by a medical assistant before I see the patient. It's part of a required Medicare set of screening questions that we have to ask every Medicare recipient at least once a year.
Thank you. And are you aware of any factors that contribute to Mr. Wilkinson's neck pain other than the degenerative changes in his spine and the motor vehicle collision of December 15, 2017?
No, I'm not.
Thank you, Dr. LaBand. I have nothing further.
No further questions.
All right, then this concludes today's videotape deposition of Paul LaBand, MD, on August 15, 2022. We're off the record at 1:45.
You're free to go, Dr. LaBand. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Can I
Take care.
get